Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So it looks like we are starting round number two here. We have Junior on Yasuo, and we have Jeremiah on Annie. And it looks like right off the rip, we just started our runes. Looks like Annie is going to go ahead and go first here. Double Fury rune, which isn't ideal. We are starting with Zon Warrens from Annie, and we do have the Candlelit Sanctum over here on the side of um Yasuo. So we're going to go ahead and set up here. Stack deck is going to come out from Yasuo. Looks like we're looking at that Nocturne. Ooh, actually, hold on. Hold on. We're having a Yasuo running Nocturne. This is this is spicy. This is actually spicy. I don't think I've seen a single Yasuo deck run Nocturne. I guess it makes sense with a lot of the moving and such. You can really make it work, but oh, this is gonna be some gimmicks. This is gonna be sort of hard for Annie to deal with, unless we do have something like a Void Seeker in the hand from Annie to start with for turn number two. But this is gonna be a brutal situation, and yeah, we are gonna go ahead and see that Nocturne come on down here. And yeah, you still get to pick a card. Nocturne's ability itself lets you reveal the Nocturne to then play the Nocturne, and then you get to draw a card. So make sure you get the recycle for the Nocturne. So Nocturne does get the recycle. Yep, he does have the rune. And then you can technically activate Yasuo ability to just move the Nocturne into Candlelit Sanctum. I mean, this is wild. This is actually wild. So we're gonna go ahead and see that Nocturne come on down here. Two runes open, and I imagine we're just gonna see a move. We're gonna play one. We're gonna do another second. Oh my god, if we hit another one. If we hit another one. Okay, we hit another one. I'm just scooping. If we hit a second Nocturne, I would just scoop and go game two. Like you're not beating that high roll. So we do end up seeing a Vision Poro. We do see a Meditate, and I forget the other card. So we're not gonna have the Nocturne move early, which is I think is still fine. But we do get to set up some pretty insane hands coming out. We're going to pass her back over to Annie at this point. Now let's see what Annie has. We're going to go up to 4 runes, draw a card. I think I see a Gust, a Flash, Travel Merchant, and I can't tell what the other card is. I'm missing a card. Rebuke. So Rebuke's not horrible. I think, yeah, we're just going to pass turn. I mean, we can Rebuke back this Nocturne if we want to here. We don't have any other way to deal with them at this point. So we are going to go ahead and pass turn over, and I think we do have a Mask of Fortitude coming. So this Nocturne can go up to 5 might here in this attack. Or not showing in this attack. So it's going to go ahead and move in the battlefield alone. It is not technically an attacker because it is not a combat showdown. But we do attempt to conquer here with the Candlelit Sanctum. I mean, we could see we can't rebuke here actually because we're only down to 1 cash one, not 2. So there's no way to really deal with this Nocturne. And we're going to take our first point over from Junior. And then Junior gets to go ahead and looks like look at the top 2 cards with the Candlelit Sanctum. We're going to see a Meditate and another Vision Poro. And we get the Vision Poro on top, put a Meditate on the bottom. And let's see, what else we have? We have a charm. We have 2 charms. We have a discipline and a meditate. Now we could end up charming over this traveling merchant. Traveling merchant would get the draw though, because charm is technically a move, which does trigger traveling merchant's ability to go ahead and draw a card off of it. So I don't know if we want to fully do that. We'll see what ends up happening. And it looks like we end up just passing the turn over, keeping some runes open. And first, we're gonna go ahead and see a stack deck ourselves. So stack deck is gonna go ahead and come on out. And let's see, what do we see? Can we? Jeremiah, I like you, but we come on, show the camera. People want to see. So I think we saw a fighter flight be taken. Oh, it's a Darius. So we do have a Darius in hand. So we did pay 1 spell already. So Darius can come on down here. And we're going to discard the ride, then when to draw a card. And we're going to go ahead and attempt to conquer to get the other discard trigger as well. Still no scrap heap, which is what we saw last time, which is what we want to do with this game plan. So we're going to go ahead and get the conquer here. I imagine we're going to go ahead and discard a card and draw. Yep, discard a rebuke, draw a card. And what is that? And a cleave. So we can set up right now a turn where you can have the Darius come on in, swing it in for 7. Nocturne going to get up to a 6 with something like a discipline. Or the downside, there could be a double on guard, which we know isn't in the hand. But there's always a chance there's a double on guard coming in, and it could end up getting this Nocturne up to 8. But more likely, Darius can go ahead and swing into this Nocturne here and end up taking over this battlefield. Fairly uncontested, I would imagine. You won't see a charm come in. But no, instead we're just going to go ahead and pass the turn, maybe feeling that double on guard in hand, and he's going to go ahead and pass turn. Actually, no, sorry, I forgot. We do have the mask on the field, so actually Discipline will make up to 7 to a full trade in the Darius. I forgot the mask is on the field, which does give a +1 when it's defending alone. So that is why we didn't swing into that there. And we're going to go ahead and draw a card, draw into that Poro. And then what do we have? We have another mask that really just buff up this Nocturne. This Nocturne can sit in this battlefield for a long time if we set up a double match trigger and then try and maybe get Darius to swing or maybe move on over. But there is a chance if you move this Darius, you do run into that cleave. So you have to be a little bit careful if you want to go ahead and move Darius into this battlefield and contest. But let's see, we could end up setting up this Vision Poro, see what's on top, and then end up recycling what if we don't like what's on top. So let's see, what do we're going to go ahead and set up a Mystic Poro. Mystic Poro is going to come on down. On play ability is going to go ahead and use Vision. See another Mystic Poro. I can only imagine we're shipping this. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and ship this down at this point. So we can now drive this theory up for 5 into 6. Oh, and actually with the mask, we don't have the mask trigger anymore. But we're going to go ahead and gank on over, getting the mask trigger there. Then we're going to go ahead and attempt to clean up this Traveling Merchant here. Because you're thinking 5 into 2. We can't cleave because we're technically a defender, not an attacker, so we don't get the assault trigger. I said, I don't think we saw Fight or Flight. There's a chance we flash. If there's a card we don't like in our hand, we probably just flash back and no. Instead, we're going to go ahead and Fight or Flight. I imagine targeting the Nocturne and try and push it back here. And I think that we're going to say, yeah, that is perfectly fine. Allow that to happen. Move our Nocturne back. Not the worst thing in the world. And then we're going to go ahead and see, what do we end up doing now? So there is the chance we can move something, maybe try and force the stairs into the other battlefield if you don't want to. But instead, we might force the Child Merchant to move on over to a ganking. And yeah, so what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and force the Child Merchant over to the Mystic Poro. Mystic Poro is going to be up to 3 might because of the mash trigger. We do have a move trigger happening with Child Merchant to discard and draw, and the Shutdown is going to go ahead and initiate. And Jeremiah has nothing in hand, so he's going to go ahead and lose that Traveling Merchant, doesn't get the hold, and the next turn. And now we're going to have a little bit of a point lead over for Junior at this point. Are we going to see another move? No. No way. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, though, and I think set up the other mask. So this Poro can now be up to a 4 might into a Discipline. Nope, no Discipline, actually, because we are down to 1 rune. So we're going to go ahead and channel 2 over on Jeremiah's side. We do have the Darius still ready. And I think that is... I can't fully tell. So we're going to go ahead and send Darius into the Mystic Poro. We're going to send a 5 into a 4, technically speaking. If there is an on guard, you could end up trying to attempt to clear it, but I can't imagine it being worthwhile. No. We're going to go ahead and let that Mystic Poro die. We're going to go ahead and look at the top 2 on the side of Jeremiah. I imagine I'm going to keep that. I've missed the second card. But so the first one is going to be a Poro. Imagine Poro is going to be sent to the bottom of the deck at this point because it's not going to matter too much into this matchup anymore. And we're going to go ahead and the good old sneaky deckhand onto the Zomwarns, get the free conquer point, go up to 3 points here, get the effect to go ahead and now discard and draw for conquering Zomwarns. I imagine it's going to be, yeah, Vayne's going to be discarded here. Vayne's not really going to be used much in this matchup. They're mostly going to rely on Vi and Darius at this point to attempt to try and hold and take over these battlefields. I'm going to pay 1 into a stack deck, go ahead and look at the top 3 and see if there's anything else we like here. So we knew we had that 1 card we left on top, which looks like a Rebuke. We do end up having another Vi, and we do have a Void Seeker. I can't imagine we are going to go ahead and keep the Void Seeker on top. No, Void Seeker does go to hand though, but you have to be careful because this Nocturne does swing in. It does end up being +2 because of both those mash triggers. So Void Seeker won't fully clear, but it does let you try and sneak something like the Sneaky Deckhand to go ahead and maybe get a more of a value trade on your side than swinging, like, say, your Darius into it. So we're going to go ahead and I think we're going to imagine pass the turn back on over. Yeah, we have the move back. And we're going to pass turn, ready 2 runes, pass it back on over to Junior, and you're going to go ahead and get ready with a total of 7 runes now in hand. I don't think we saw a taste or anything like that in hand. We could set up the Yasuo if we want for another turn to try and set up a little bit of a future plan, especially because of the fact that we don't get to move them because we only have 7. We end up drawing into an on guard now. So there is a couple of lines that can happen. Depends how much you want to value the trade. I don't think we're going to value trade. I think, yeah, going Kindle Sanctum is going to be the proper, the probably more optimal play to allow you to vision the top 2 cards that are on your deck. See if you want to keep one, recycle one. So we do have, I think, a Defy, and it's going to be a block. So imagine Defy, yeah. Defy is going to be kept on top here. Defy is going to be really good, and just something like those Void Seekers and such. And then if you need to, you could discipline Defy into a little bit of a chain action if you need to. Now the question is here, do you attempt to move this Darius? There's always a chance you're going to a cleave. There's cleave Void Seeker up. Darius can get really big. Darius can get up to a 10 might unit. So you have to be a little bit careful if that's the plan you're going to go route. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and pay 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. There's other cash rune. I thought we were only paying 5, but looks like we are paying 6. We're going to set up this Yasuo for a future turn here, which is a little, pretty optimal, but we don't have a way to protect this Nocturne. We do have an On Guard in hand. Like I said, it does let us get up to an 8 might unit. We have to be a little bit careful on what, it depends on the sequencing in Jeremiah, if this Nocturne does get to stick around here. And, oh, always fun. You know, it's always bad when your opponent picks up their graveyard as Annie, and so it's counting cards. You know, okay, there's probably a Vi Ride the Wind in the hand, or there's probably something in the hand that's going to be a little bit brutal. But we're going to go ahead, and it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 runes available for Jeremiah. So Jeremiah is going to go ahead and set up the Vi for a future turn if it wants to. So Vi is going to come on down, set up, and then we could probably see this Darius move into this Nocturne possibly. And open we said to, never mind, we're not going to go ahead and do that. Respect though for paying the cost before playing the card. Highly appreciate that. Thank you. But we're going to go ahead and pay 3 and a 1, and we're going to go ahead and play Annie coming down. Annie's probably going to grab maybe a stack of Rebuke. Okay. Rebuke does make sense, especially get to go ahead and try and get rid of this Yasuo. But you have to be careful. Rebuke, I think, is an action, not a reaction. So Yasuo ability will end up going onto the stack to try and clear up this Darius a little bit earlier. And Darius is going to come in now with a cleave. We're going to go up to a 10 might Darius. Nocturne's pretty much dead. I don't think there's anything we're going to do about this. So Darius is Nocturne going to get up to an 8. Actually, there is a chance. Nope, never mind. There's not a chance. We don't have we have a rune open, but we need 2 runes open to defy, say, the cleave. There's supposed to be a 7, but you're still stuck at a 6. You don't have a second rune open to On Guard or anything of the sort. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and get rid of Nocturne. And now there's a chance where Darius is going to try and attempt to come on in and try and attempt to probably get a couple of these to clear the battlefields with his ability to come on in with 6 might. Maybe a little bit more if you decide to On Guard or something first. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see what comes of it. But it looks like we're going ahead and start counting our runes, start counting what else is in hand, trying to get the plays around. And I don't think there's going to be much Jeremiah is going to have to worry about. Just more trying to set up something like a Rebuke or Fight a Fight. And we're going to go ahead and come on in now with the attack, with the recall, trying to go, oh, we're not going to go ahead and run on into now this Darius here with 6 might. We're going to try and keep this Darius alive as much as possible. We're going to go ahead now and recycle the 1 rune and hidden a card. So Fight or Flight is going to go ahead and be hidden under that sneaky deck end to try and bounce back, say this Yasuo, if anything comes in, if it decides to go ahead and attack into this Zon Warrens. But we're going to top 2. We have the Defy now in hand. We can Defy into something here. Now there is the case. Nope, that does not work actually, because Charm does not work into it because we are not an attacker at that point. Now you can Charm if you want to give your opponent the battlefield. You can Charm, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from main card directly. Charm Darius up into a battlefield, and yeah, let him get the point, just so we can attempt to clean out this Yasuo. Just with Yasuo try and clear up this Darius. I don't hate this play. This is some Giga Brain stuff right here. So Darius, so Yasuo can come on in, attempt to do 6 and a 5. This can only be reacted to reacts. You cannot do anything with action to this Darius. So we do have to be careful. Yep, so it looks like Darius is going to go ahead and hit the bin. Nothing can happen in terms of that. Showdown happens, and we're going to go ahead and rebuke the Yasuo at the beginning for the showdown. And we cannot defy Rebuke. Rebuke is double costed. It is not 1. So Rebuke, Defy will not work. So Yasuo is going to go ahead and be bounced back to the hand. And then Jeremiah is going to go up to 7 points more than likely now, because you have to replay the Yasuo here. And Yasuo is going to come on down and be a little turn off. And it's going to be a little bit harder to deal. Actually, no. This might just be game depending. You have to more than likely try and move this Annie, which you don't have a way to move Annie onto this battlefield, because it looks like we'll just be able to untap next turn and then be able to get up to 8 points, because we're going to hold up to 7, and Annie could just take the secondary battlefield to get up to the double conquer trigger. So it looks like we were thinking about Rebuke. Rebuke does bounce in the hand. I think we were just getting some clarification on that, double checking what the card is. So I don't think there's anything in hand we can deal with this. I think this Annie's just going to go ahead and then sit on this battlefield and just take over and just pretty much go game 1 into Annie for this at this point. But we're going to go ahead, let's see what else gets set up. Grabbing our runes, trying to think what exactly we have to go. If there's anything we could do to get rid of this. Yasuo is going to go ahead and be replayed, pass it over, and I think Ains is going to go ahead and take the secondary battlefield because if I'm not mistaken, it's going to go up to 7 points on the hold. And then that's just going to be all she wrote. Yeah, that's 8 points going in the game number 2. So, with that being said, for those just watching at home or any way you're watching on your phone, wherever you're watching, while we're talking about some sideboard matchups, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick little breakdown of today's meta. Well, leading the way, we have 5 Yasuos in the play today, 4 Misfortunes, 3 Kaises, 3 Victors, 2 Annies, 2 Aries, 2 Leonas, 1 Set, 1 Teemo, and 1 Jinx. A very diverse meta here, actually. Not very meta chasing. Yasuo is a very big shock to see leading the way. So this is one of our 5 one of the 5 Yasuos that are playing in the field today. Excuse me. And then if we're talking about sideboards, looking at sideboards, I know I'm going to talk about Annie a lot. I produce enough content on this. So Annie's probably going to sit there. It's going to take up scrap heaps more than likely. It's going to go ahead and maybe take out the veins. It's going to bring in Gust to deal with the little units. Probably bring another rebuke if it doesn't have another rebuke already in the main. Maybe fight or flight. Because I don't know exactly what's the sideboard here from this Annie player. Yeah, I can't imagine bringing Falzar. I'm not bringing in Tibbers. There's an argument for Fading Memories if you have an extra slot for it, but otherwise you want to bring in the rebukes and the fighter flights to deal with a lot of Yasuo units. So you're going to see those probably come into this matchup and then try and deal a little bit with whatever Yasuo is doing. And then from Yasuo's side, we're going to see Ride the Winds come on in. And I think, what's the other card? Both Ride the Winds are going to come on in from Yasuo. Maybe trying to get some move mechanics happening. Maybe trigger the Yasuo a little bit. Try and save the units a little bit in turn. So we're going to go ahead and see that coming out. Or come on in, I should say. And a couple cards come on out. And like I said, I think Veins are going to probably be cut from this list. Scrap Heats, if Scrap Heats are in here, going to be cut. What else? I'm trying to look at this as normal that we have. There's an argument where you go down to 2 Void Seekers, depending on what you have. If you're running 3, Void Seeker really only hits Nocturne. Doesn't only hit some of the bigger units. So it really depends how much of a trade situation you're running into. But let's see what ends up happening. So we're going to go ahead and pick our battlefields. Next is probably going to be, we have won the game. So it's probably going to go ahead and be Dreaming Tree on the form of Annie. You don't want to go Arena's Greatest. Yeah. So like what's going to happen, you have Dreaming Tree coming down and the back alley bar out from the Yasuo. So we're going to go ahead and set up those units, get those cards. I imagine Yasuo is going to be on the play here. And so I want to go first because why not? I mean, there's no reason not to take second, especially if you're playing as Yasuo. So that's probably going to be set up going into this game. And then Annie's going to be setting up with 3, but it's always the case that Annie's going to run into something like a sneaky dockhand a little bit early, which is always a situation that can happen and you have to be a little bit careful of. But I don't think there's too much worry that's going to happen on the side of Yasuo for that, from that case. So cuts are going to come on in, cut the deck, get everything situated, draw up our 4 cards. Let's see what we end up having in our opening hands here. I think everyone's ready. Yep, I'm going to draw up to 4. We have Mystic Poro, Charm, Ride the Wind, and On Guard. Not the worst hand for Yasuo. You have an early play, a way to keep it alive. I don't think I hate that. From Annie, we have Rebuke, we have Flash. Depending on what's in this hand, I don't think we saw a unit, which is very well needed to get rid of 2 cards to try and get a 2-drop, or maybe even, like I said, into something like the... What's the marker for? Oh, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Sneaky Deckhand. And we are going to go ahead and see the Mystic Pearl coming down. Keep it to 5 on top. Perfectly reasonable keep. And as that's going to come on down here, and then we're going to go ahead and pass the turn over. We do have, yep, Sneaky Deckhand. Always what we want to see in the opening hand. Sneaky Deckhand is going to go ahead and sit itself right onto this Dreaming Tree. Go up to a point. Now, depending if this is an opening hand or not, I'll be shocked that we got rid of the Flash. Because the way you could just flash and draw an extra card if you want to get the draw value off of it. But let's go ahead and pass the turn back over, see what ends up happening over here on Junior's side at this point. Junior is going to go ahead and get their 2 runes channeled. And from there, we end up drawing that Defy that we knew about. So we can try to take this power into the back alley bar if we want to, or attempt to the trade. We do have a Defy, though, and an On Guard. And we can target this Mystic Power with the On Guard. So he does have first action. I think you have to play the On Guard just to be safe. Get the On Guard trigger, targeting unit. If there's no reaction, you have to go ahead and draw a card off of this Dreaming Tree. So this Mystic Pearl will go up to a 4 might. If resolves, which I imagine it will, so he gets to go ahead and draw a card. Draw the card, draws into a Discipline at this point. We're going to see the 2 runes tapped over here, and we're going to go ahead and Ride the Wind on the Sneaky Deckhand. So Sneaky Deckhand, now there is a case where he could have defied this if he wants to. I think that is going to be the case. We're going to, nope, we cannot charm. Defy, yep, that is the card we want. We're going to go ahead and defy that Ride the Wind. Sneaky Deckhand is going to be stuck at this battlefield. It does not target, by the way. It does not target. So Ride the Wind has been denied. It ends up getting the recall. Perfect. No issues there. And then we get to go ahead and pass the turn over. Mystic Poro is going to be the one left standing right now. And we're going to go ahead, go up 1 point for Junior into a 1-1 tie and pass the turn on over back to Jeremiah, who I hope has a secondary unit in hand. Otherwise, they're going to be pretty behind the back foot, which isn't where you want to be as Annie. And I think we do have the vein. So we get to go ahead and resolve the vein. But the thing is, though, we have to be a little bit. So we have 5. We can discipline the Poro up to 4 if we want to just get the draw trigger, but I'm not sure how much value we're going to get into that. There is the case we could ride the wind. Ooh, okay. I think the play here, we get to go ahead and ride the wind, the Mystic Poro, onto the other battlefield, get the draw trigger from Dreaming Tree because of the targeting ability, and then we get to exactly what's going to happen. Junior, we're in sync. We're in sync here, Junior. So what we're going to do, so we actually moved it back to base. So we didn't take the secondary conquer. Interesting. I guess because the fact that Vayne is tapped out anyway, we could discipline. Okay, I don't hate this too much. You get to go ahead and kill the Vayne anyway because you do have a discipline in hand, and you do get to draw a card anyway. So I guess depending what's in your hand, it is not the worst thing. And we did end up hitting a Nocturne. Not where we want the Nocturne. We want the more Nocturne off of something else. But I mean, I could see the line coming in where we're just going to go ahead and move Mystic Poro up, discipline Mystic Poro, get the draw for Dreaming Tree, come in with 4, get to draw 2 cards into the Vayne, and just hope your opponent doesn't have anything else in response. Not the best situation, but also not the worst, I guess. So, but it does let you draw 2 extra cards, but you don't get to set up the Nocturne. So let's see, we're going to see the Mystic Pro come on in. Holding priority for first action. First action, we're going to go ahead and come on down here. We're going to see a Discipline onto Mystic Poro, and we're going to go ahead and draw a card for that. Then let's see if Mystic Poro resolve. It does, so we get to draw a card off of that as well for the Discipline. And we're going to draw 2. We end up drawing into a Mask. So we get this Poro pretty big. Mask can come on down and give Poro up to a 3 might when it's holding on its own, depending on what else we have. I didn't get to see what the other card was drawn. If you have no other reaction, it's perfectly fine. And yeah, we're going to play a Mask trigger. And Annie's just definitely on the back foot here. I don't think there's a single unit in hand. What do we top deck? We top deck a Vi. I mean, we get to try and set up for another turn at this point. But we're almost just playing off the back foot. We're going to set up with a Traveling Merchant and pass the turn back over, leaving up our 5 runes. Pass over Mystic Poro is going to on top, go up to 3 points on Junior's side, and get ready with 4 runes of their own, going up to 6, and a lot of interaction that could be left up as well. And we saw that Nocturne in hand. But probably what's going to happen, we might see this Poro come on down. I think Poro might come on down here, go up to 2, and then get his retake into wherever Traveling Merchant takes into, and then he could leave up a lot of interaction. Or you can even just charm. You can charm the Traveling Merchant if you want to make your opponent discard off the draw trigger as well, for the discard draw, if you really feel like dealing with it. But I think leaving the charm is fine because you can leave that charm to deal with something a little bit more of a bigger threat later on down the road, especially because the fact you can just use your Yasuo with it. So going into it, we're going to go ahead and set up with the Stalwart Shield Poro. We're going to end up recalling the Mystic Poro back to our base, especially because Mask won't work with it as much because of the fact it has to be the alone attacker or defender at a battlefield. And then we're stuck with 4 runes up. We do have a Finder Center in hand. We have a Yasuo in hand. We have a Nocturne in hand. And we also have one other card. I cannot remember what it was looking at it. So not the worst setup. And we're going to go ahead and find your here, get the channel a rune, draw a card, reset up our hand a little bit. We end up drawing into a Discipline, which isn't the worst thing, especially when you set up for future turns. It won't help keep this shield Poro alive for this turn, depending on what happens. But we can go ahead now draw in the terms of Jeremiah, and we might go ahead and see, yeah, so Traveling Merchant is going to go ahead and come on in. We're going to discard a card, draw a card, and we might just see the Cleave come on down. So with the Cleave coming down 5, so we're going to go 5 and the 4 because Shield Poro gets 1 for shield and then gets to go ahead up to 3, and then Mass will bring it up to 4. So we have no way to keep this Poro alive at this point. We are completely tapped out. Actually, no, we do have 1 rune open. Sorry, but I did not see that 1 rune that was stuck hidden behind the background here. So we do have 1 rune if we want it, but we're going to go ahead and let this Traveling Merchant die. Try and set up where this Darius is going to come down. It is going to be the second spell of the turn. Gets to come in ready. Take over this back alley bar. And now it looks like Jeremiah is repositioning themselves into this game a little bit better than they were before. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and now we're going to get the on tap, get 2 more runes exhausted, channeled over on the side of Junior. And we do have, looks like maybe talking a little bit where the conquer, where some points are happening. I'm not exactly sure the conversation is stopping down the table, but it looks like we might have this portal command into 3, into Traveling Merchant. We do have the discipline if we need to, and we might just say a pass action here, try and see if there's something on the side of Jeremiah that can deal with this Poro. If not, we'll just take it and then leave the runes up to go ahead and do something else later on. And that looks like what's going to happen. There's going to be the trade happening over onto the Dreaming Tree, and then we can maybe set up something like this Nocturne and this Yasuo for a future dairy turn. So we're going to go ahead and it looks like we're going to start debating how many runes we got, what do we want to do here, and what's available to us. And it looks like we are going to 2, 3, 4. Nocturne's going to come down. Yeah, Nocturne's going to come down, set up in the battlefield, recycle one of those runes here, as they are no longer needed. And then we're going to go ahead and pass with 5 open with a discipline in hand, and I think a meditate as well, trying to deal with this Darius probably on the future there returns. And looking over the hand of Jeremiah, we do end up having, I think, a Vi and a Ride the Wind, or just Vi. So Darius is going to go ahead and untap here, get ready, going to recall back to base because he only got the points he needed. We can re-ready him if we need to with, say, 2 more spells. So let's see what ends up happening in this situation. We end up playing a secondary Darius is going to come in for number 1. We're going to end up cleaving to and target the Darius, come on in here for 7, and that's only 6 might being held on the side of looks like Junior because the fact that Mask, like I said, does require being solo out of battlefield to get the extra +1. But there is a discipline in hand. You could discipline this Nocturne up to 6, draw a card because of the Dreaming Tree ability, and then see what happens from there off the top deck. And I think that's exactly what we're going to end up seeing happening here. So 1 rune tap, 2 runes tapped, and then here comes, a meditate actually is going to come down first to go ahead and draw a card. Not seeing anything better off of it. This is going to go ahead and end up losing his board. Did I miss? Oh, sorry, that is 10. Darius is at 10 because that is the second spell. That's why. My apologies. That's why my math was wrong. And Vi's going to come on down and pass the turn on over, where Jeremiah is going to be back in the driver's seat here with 2 Dariuses on the board, and a Vi is in a pretty strong position. Looks like we will end up needing something like the Yasuo coming down and maybe a Ride the Wind if it's available, but we do not have it. So Yasuo is going to come down first and then see what we end up hitting with any of our other draw triggers. So there's Yasuo coming on down, I think. We paid 2. Looks like doing the math here on how do we get there type math, or how close are we to getting there. So we're going to go ahead and see that come on down. And then what do we have left available to us? We are going to go ahead. Nope, still debating. Going to play Yasuo from the Champion Zone versus the hand, which is good heads up knowledge, so you don't give your opponent any extra knowledge than you need to. So then we're going to go ahead and I imagine set up with something like a move. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and move with the Yasuo, attempt to clean up this Darius with the attack trigger. Go ahead and conquer. Go up to 5, and then you can't charm this. You can't charm this Darius over because you won't be the attacker anymore. You will be the defender, so you don't get the trigger. I think Yasuo ability, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to go ahead and hide the card. Maybe trying to hide something like the Ride the Wind if it's available, which I don't think it is. And now this Vi coming in for big damage, especially depending if there is a Ride the Wind in the hand that Jeremiah picks up, but it looks like it is only a sneaky deckhand. So we're going to go ahead and channel 2, go up to 7 points for Jeremiah, and I imagine we're going to see some form of sacrifice happening here to go up to 7 points. Now there is a move that can happen depending on how many cards in hand. You could end up sacrificing enough. Yeah, we are going to go ahead and stack deck. See what's off the top. We do have a fight. Oh, the fight or flight could end up sealing it actually. Fight or flight, this is Yasuo off the battlefield depending on what's down onto the hidden zone. If there's not a defy, there is the chance that you could just clean this up. I mean, we might see, yeah, the fight or flight's going to be taken. This Darius might end up being recalled back to base here. Fight and then attempt to fight or flight back this Yasuo, and then untap Darius with a second spell for the turn. And then if you need to clean up with something with the Vi a little bit later in the next second, we're going to have see. We're going to see the fight or flight coming down, attempt to move back that Yasuo off that battlefield, then just try and take it normally with something like the Vi without being pumped up. Hope we don't miss this Darius. So it depends if it's played, I think is what we're waiting for right now. We do have a reaction coming on down. We would end up tapping out though with this reaction because you get paid 2, he does end up moving, that ends up going away, which was a block. So it doesn't really get us there. Darius is on top, and we can just move the Darius into this open battlefield. And if there's nothing to move this Darius off of it, this would just be an easy takeover for Jeremiah, and that would end up sealing up game number 2. Darius is coming here with +7, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Jeremiah is going to take it 2 games to none to Annie. With Annie. Sorry. So congratulations, Jeremiah, for taking game number 2 versus Junior.